Live at local morning radio, coming to you from the studios of Magic Broadcasting on Laird. This is the Kramer Show. This is the Kramer Show. The phone is now open, and the phone operators are standing by. Turn down your radio when you call. Pay attention and be ready to go. 850-233-9988.
I said if you're having the best time of your life right now, let me get it. Yes, sir.
This is Kramer.
7:05. I mean, how does that work at this point?
Sure. Depending on what you've done in your claim before I've got involved, sort of determines the speed at which we can get to suit. So in other words, if you had a public adjuster and they have a detailed estimate and they have all the photographs, they've submitted all the documentation that the insurance companies needed, and they've written a letter and said, if there's anything else, please write us. The insurance company doesn't need anything else. Then when I get the claim, I can evaluate whether they've been paid, pick up a phone, call the insurance company and say, are you going to pay or not? If you're not going to pay, we'll file our complaint with the state, and then we'll file our lawsuit immediately. And then when you start doing that, things change because now they have to spend money on their own lawyer, and then they have to spend money on experts and other people to go out and defend the case. So if that's the case, it's very powerful. If someone has not done that, sometimes you do need to go back out and have another estimate done, or sometimes the insurance company will ask for what's called a reinspection. Silly term as it's used, they'll actually say, well, you found stuff that we didn't find. We're going to send our people back out again to decide whether or not we agree with your guys. It sounds silly and sounds crazy because why didn't you catch it the first time? But a lot of people will say, okay, let's reinspect. Then they'll send their people out. They'll look at that and they'll either confirm and they'll pay you more, or they'll tell you what their problem is. And usually at that time, if you have a good expert on your side, if you have a good evaluator, that person can be out, with the insurance adjuster and say, listen, tell me what's wrong. Tell me what the problem is. You could literally walk around with them if you were insured while they do the inspection and listen. And then you're a witness to that. And they say, oh, yeah, you're right. I see the last inspector who was a bartender in Oklahoma before he, became a catastrophe adjuster. I see he missed this roof part, or I see he missed those things. And he was a good adjuster, and they just were racing through things. But the concept is that reinspection will help them to do that. But we like to get our own estimates. Sometimes you need engineering. Like sometimes there's a structural issue, and maybe they only did an estimate to repair the windows or to repair some of the structure, but they don't have an engineer supporting that you really have foundational problems. Why should an insurance company pay if you demonstrate that you really have the science behind what you're claiming? You can't just say a house needs to be totaled unless you have no house. But if you have a couple of cracks in the wall, we don't know whether that's a settlement-oriented issue or whether that's truly a part of the storm or from the storm. Sometimes you'll need to get that, so we'll have to send out an engineer. But depending upon how it works, we try as expeditiously as possible to get that done. Once that's done, then the insurance company either has to pay or we file suit. And a lot of times we do file suit. Sometimes when you file suit, that also gets their attention. They immediately pay. Sometimes they elect this, what's called appraisal, which is they go to an alternate dispute resolution forum, and then your claim is done in 90 days at the latest. So there's just a different array of options available, but we just think that whether we're fortunate, we're lucky, or we have a good reputation, it seems to bring results once we get either into suit or we get the completed estimate and we're talking to them about what needs to get done.
Scott Major's with us from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. As you can see, he knows exactly what he's talking about. If you're going through something, you have a question, you can get on the air and ask him anything you need. 850-233-9988, the phone number. Back with Scott Major. More to come.
The Kramer Show. Unfortunately, we'll be right back. This is NewsTalk at 101.
Right now, please welcome a man who needs no introduction.
NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major with us. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. You know, you can contact them off the air. You can call up and actually contact Scott at 844-800-LAWS, 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 stormhelpteam.org. By the way, I get every time we have you on, the phone rings for 30 minutes and people go, hey, I need to get that number again. What's the number? Rachel can attest to that. Every time I walk through there, she's picking up the phone going, it's 844-800-LAWS. Remind me to give out Scott's number more often during the show because I want to make sure that everybody gets that phone number, 844-800-LAWS and stormhelpteam.org.
Hey, Kramer, what's the phone number?
844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. Very important that you have someone on your side. And you know, by the way, you don't have to be. Let's also, I'm going to ask you some more basic questions today. Okay, here's a very easy one. You don't true or false? You don't have to be a millionaire to hire a Scott Major.
That's a true statement. As a matter of fact, you can have a claim that's worth $500 and we'll take the case. The reality is that a lot of times with the smaller claims, people think, well, there's no way I can get a lawyer to help me, or there's no way a Scott Major type lawyer is going to be able to take my case. That's just not the case. If you have coverage, if you have an insurance policy that covers your loss, we will take your claim about regardless of what the amount is. Because you're entitled to recovery, and we're willing to fight for you to get that recovery. And if the insurance company doesn't pay 1,000 claims that are, $1,000, that turns into $1 million of savings, and we're just not going to allow that to happen.
What is the main, what would be the word? What's the main thing that holds people back from hiring you? I mean, outside of, the thought about the money, is it just that people here are a little less willing to, get into a fight? Is that a thing? I don't know.
I think it's a combination of things. I think that when you have, on the one hand, the idea that people think lawyers are going to cost them a lot of money, and I can't afford a lawyer, even though I'm told that being able to get all my money back for me. I think that's one of the markers. I think also, too, that you have some vendors, you have even some public adjusters that say, no, don't use a lawyer. They're horrible. They're not going to be good for you, because they want the business. And so some less than scrupulous, people say that, and you get this groundswell of lawyers are horrible, and then you combine that with people who are conservative by nature and want to trust the insurance companies, and that creates a kind of groundswell of people that end up delaying. Now, they end up being very angry that they delayed because they're waiting 4, 5, 6, 7 months, still living in tents, because people made promises to them that they wanted to believe that turned out to be false. But the reality is that it's just more of an education process after every storm that I go through. I have patience, and I understand that people are just not going to necessarily believe me when I come out first and say, you need to hire me immediately. They're going to believe all the other people who say they can get them free money faster, or they're going to fix their property for free and go after the insurance company and all of that nonsense. And so we just realized that after a while, you have to decide what's more important to you. Do you want your home or your building or your condo rebuilt or not? And if you want it rebuilt, and you want it rebuilt fast, then you hire the best people, in the state of the country to do that. And if you don't want that, then you can go through and try to get around that situation by, still living in your tent or your RV or other things. So I think it's a combination of things. And also, too, as you know from us being on the radio for a long time, people realize that they can trust me. They realize that I have quality, and that, not everything is perfect, but I'm going to do the best job I can to try to help them. I certainly have knowledge, and I've espoused that knowledge, and the insurance company is not dumb. They know that I have knowledge. They know I was on the insurance side. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that, and so that tends to help things. So, I've been yelling it from, in a kind way, and from the rooftops of the radio station, saying, please, 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 if you're not going to hire me, hire a lawyer who knows what they're doing so that you can get the recovery you want. But I'll tell everyone now, if you don't know the status of your claim, if you do not know whether or not your claim is being processed, let's say you don't have a lawyer and you don't know the status of your claim, you need to find out the status of your claim. You need to write the insurance company, dear insurance company, I have sent you, the following documents, or my adjuster has sent you the following documents. You have not indicated that you need any additional information. Please let me know within the next 2 business days in writing why you have not, agreed to pay whatever the total is, X $1,000. Love and kisses you. And if you haven't done that and you're a listener, you need to do that. Even if you're not hiring me, you need to write that letter and know the status of your claim, or know the insurance company is waiting on something from you or waiting on something from your adjuster. And so it's very, very important. When a lawyer's involved, it's slightly different because it's more legal. They'll talk directly to the lawyers, and usually the lawyers are either filing suit or they're getting new estimates or finalized estimates so they can do something to help you. But if you don't have a lawyer yet, whether you're a business or a home or condo, co-op, whatever it is, please make sure you take action to find out the status of your claim, and that's a helpful tool.
Yeah, listener just sent me 2 lawyer jokes. Do you want me to tell them to you?
Sure.
Okay. Number 1, what do you call a lawyer with an IQ of 100? Answer is Your Honor.
I don't know.
Your Honor. The second one is, what do you call a lawyer with an IQ of 50? Answer is Senator. Wow. Jeffrey, those are brutal. Oh.
We willingly accept the bashing of lawyers. Some lawyers are not, any better than other professions. There are used car salesmen that people don't like. There are doctors that people like.
Look, if you're not going to get out of getting a lawyer at this point. I mean, that's one thing I'm learning about this storm. And
you're crazy not to get a lawyer right now.
Yeah,
and talk about an IQ of 50. You don't get a lawyer. You're going to be still living in your tent or still frustrated. You want to keep living on the promises of other people claiming they're going to get your money? Then keep doing that. But if you want to get results, this is the way to get results. We've demonstrated for years and thousands of claims we can get results. Okay, and if I were you, I'd want to get results.
Yeah. I didn't mean to set you off with that. I just thought it was kind of funny that the answer with the IQ of the 50 was Senator. I just thought that was kind of funny.
Well, in today's times, when I have talked about this, it doesn't surprise you when you have, people blaming, yesterday's tornado on climate change,
Oh, God.
I mean,
hang on 1 second.
On Panama City's information station, NewsTalk at 101. NewsTalk at 101.
People go out and say somebody's an idiot if they're being stupid.
I like the way that they report, like the news. I think it's really unbiased.
It's not like all talking, boring stuff. Yeah, so it's funny.
This says some stuff that most people wouldn't say.
Back to the most listened to morning show in the Panhandle. This is the Kramer Show on NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major's with us. Phones are open for you. 850-233-9988. 850-233-9988. Scott Major has 30 years that he's been handling insurance claims and cases. And so you get another half hour of free legal advice with him today. So if you've got a question, tell you what, we'll do Love and Kisses You t-shirts, and we'll do MAGA hats for everybody that calls up and gets on the air. 850-233-9988. 850-233-9988. Yeah, so off the air, I was talking to Scott. We're talking about the people that are living without AC in this heat wave in tents. And, Scott, some of these people have tents that are made out of their shells. They're made out of, like, vinyl or plastic. And you can literally, you have a front door, so you kind of open it up, and the heat just pours out of this thing. It's like an oven, so it's 20, 30 degrees warmer on the inside of this thing. It's already 100 degrees outside. My heart bleeds for the people that are having to live that way. And you're not talking about just poor people that are having to live in tents. You're talking about people from all walks of life. No one can stay long term in a hotel room on the beach that's charging $200-300 upwards of that a night. You just can't do that, and there's nowhere else to go. So there are a lot of people that have found themselves in those situations.
It's amazing to me, that this thing continues. And it's just unfortunate that we have been unable to get as many people, to get lawyers involved to help out with processing the claim. I mean, in some cases, I can pick up a phone and get a settlement. So it's not so much that you have to saddle in for a long, long ride. It's just that it's terrible that people are now, out of their additional living expenses or can't live anywhere else or don't have that kind of coverage and are now faced with this nightmare that's come after the nightmare. And so we just urge everyone, as best they can, get the proper, legal advice, whether you hire a lawyer or not, so that you can get made whole, you can get out of the tent or get out of the, the oven, if you will, and get back to your life. And it's just, we hope that we're making a difference. I hope that in small part, I know I'm small, but I hope that in small part I'm making a difference in the entire community. And we're certainly trying as hard as we can to educate as many people as we can that the more claims we can get, either filed or with the insurance company, the more results we're going to get. Just getting 1,000 claims is just a small amount compared to what is going on in your city and in your county and in the neighboring counties. And so hopefully people are spreading the word and sharing the fact that, you get results when you do those things. And even the process that I'm engaged in doesn't happen automatically. And so I hope that people are listening. I know we've gotten a lot of positive comments, but those are the people that are getting rewards. And we want everyone to get rewards.
I was talking to Jason, my friend, yesterday, and he said that he has a friend that had ALE, and it went up to a certain degree and amount, and he found a house. It was $6,000 a month. That was all that he could find, and he said that the insurance company paid that, I guess, for 3 months, and then they cut him off. And he said that he felt lucky to even have found that. At this point, 2 questions. When that runs out, what are some alternatives that people have? If the ALE runs out, do they have other options? Second, can you negotiate ALE with insurance companies? And so, in other words, now we have hurricane season coming. People are kind of getting edgy a little. And so they could, what if they went to their insurance company and said, hey, how much more would it be if I wanted to get, say, triple the amount of ALE? Is that possible?
Okay, so you cannot generally get more than what the policy provides in the form of coverage D or additional living expenses, except if the insurance company has delayed in fixing your property, which has caused you to burn through all of your ALE. So if you've done what you and I spoke about, all these weeks, all these months, you're writing the insurance company, and you're telling the insurance company, hey, I'm ready to go, I'm waiting on your money, I'm waiting on your money, I'm waiting on your money. And as a result of their delays and their lack of good faith, they have failed to pay you, then you can get any amount of ALE that is provable by the damages that you suffered. So if you had to live outside of your home for 5 months or 8 months or however long it is, and the insurance company has not paid you because they're the ones delaying unreasonably, then you can get all that money and perhaps more. And this is the important thing about this phraseology of bad faith. If, in fact, the insurance company has acted in bad faith, you can get all kinds of extra contractual damages. You can get emotional distress. You can get consequential damages, other damages that have caused a result. You had to drive further. You had to do more things. Other kinds of expenses can be covered that otherwise wouldn't be covered. But on the face of the policy, if you didn't get enough additional living expenses, there's really only 2 routes. The first route is what we just talked about, the insurance route, and the second route is to get your insurance provider, that is the person, the agent or broker who sold you the insurance. If they did not educate you as to what your remedies were, didn't explain to you, or didn't provide you with sufficient amounts of additional living expenses, they can be held responsible, just like they can be held responsible for underinsuring you in any of the coverage terms. And you and I spoke about this tragically, and I'm not bashing all insurance people, just like we're not bashing all lawyers. There are insurance agents and brokers who did not do their job and were negligent in failing to advise their customers of the sufficient amount of insurance that they needed. And so it's very important for you to make sure that you've exhausted all your remedies if you're a person out there who's aggrieved by this. But it starts with the insurance company. It starts with making sure that your claim is either in the hands of a lawyer or that you are aggressively writing and documenting and finding out why they're not paying.
So if I went to the insurance company and said, I have in my policy now $20,000 for ALE, but I want $60,000, I cannot get that?
Prospectively, going forward, you can. So in other words, I can say, I'm fearful of the next storm. I would like to raise my ALE, and your agent or broker will raise it. And it's really not that much money to raise coverage D.
Okay.
Coverage D is relatively inexpensive. You just can't get it retroactively. You follow what I'm saying?
Okay, gotcha. But I can change my policy, pay more
Absolutely.
for it, and get it.
And I, in fact, encourage people to do that to make sure they have enough contents coverage, enough ALE coverage, in the event of a storm, depending on how much damage you suffer here. If your house is rebuilt even better and you have a brand new roof and brand new walls and brand new windows, you may have less likelihood to be out of your home than somebody who didn't have quite as much damage. On the other hand, you got to make sure you have enough contents coverage, or if you have a fence or other things that your other structures has enough. You want enough to cover you to rebuild your home in the way in which it was before the storm happened.
Yeah, is that something that renters too can do, or is that just for home? Oh, it is. It is.
Yes.
So if you have an apartment or whatever, you can.
You could buy trailer coverage if you wanted, even if you don't have you can buy just about anything you want. It just comes at a price. But the answer is yes. I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but I'm saying that you can buy the coverage that you need just by talking to your agent. Sometimes you have to shop different carriers. Sometimes some carriers will offer more coverage in one area than in other areas. But the concept is you absolutely can get more coverage than you have in almost every single scenario.
I just wonder if people know that all that, or prior to the storm, that people knew.
They did not know.
Yeah, see, that's the thing.
I can assure you they did not. No one ever heard of ALE. Nobody ever heard of contents. They didn't even know. They didn't even know what their policy said. The person said, I need insurance, and the agent said, this is what you need. And 99.9% of the people said, okay, I guess that's what I need. Nobody bothered to think about what would happen if they had a catastrophic loss. Find out that it would only cost them $50 more to get this, $100 more to get that. They had no idea. And if they found out now, it would probably aggravate them beyond even comfort levels. So, the reality is you just need to be smart about it.
That's one thing that I don't understand about all of this, and I'm learning as we're going, but I really don't understand why, conceptually, a insurance company would not be different and say, hey, you know what we're going to do? Here's how we're going to handle our business. When these people come in, we're going to tell them all the scenarios that could happen, and we're going to say, yeah, you're going to pay more for it, but you're going to be covered. Now, let's just think about a hurricane. Let's say a Category 5 comes, blows away your home, and you only have $20,000 in ALA. Well, how long is that going to last? What, 3 months? Why would somebody not come in and just be different and be straight open and honest about it? And at least you can market it and say, hey, we're going to tell you what the real deal is. You would think somebody would have stepped up and done that. But boy, it's like now you're finding out people have to go in and practically get an attorney to figure out what kind of insurance they need. It's a real bummer.
It is. And when you read the insurance policies, they're extremely complicated. We call them policies of exclusion, not policies of inclusion, because the first page is basically what is included, and the majority of the remaining pages are what's excluded. I mean, that's the way the law is developed in the sense that there are so many exclusions. So the best thing you can do as a listener, whether you're a condo owner, whether you are a business owner, whether you are an individual, is to think about what kind of insurance, what would you need in the event of a loss. Would you need to be able to live somewhere else? If you had a business, would you need interruption insurance? In other words, would you still want to be able to pay your employees for 3 months if your business was closed? Would you want that to kick in day 1, or would you want it to kick in day 30? So in other words, if the power goes out one day, would you want to pay for insurance for the one day, or would that be too expensive and you'd rather just look for catastrophic losses? Do you want to be able to pay for your lost profits or lost inventory? You have spoliation issues, in your business where you're going to have to worry about something that spoils as opposed to a T-shirt or a MAGA hat that never spoils. What is it that you need, and then insure for that. And if you don't know, ask the insurance agent to put in writing to you, listen, I want you to tell me how much coverage I have. So you tell every listener, listen, the next time you get insurance, I want you to write a letter to your broker or your agent and say, I want you to put in writing all of the insurance you think I can get and then all of the insurance you think I need. 2 different questions. All the insurance you think I can get, all the insurance you think I need. And then when you get that back, you can intelligently assess exactly what you really think you need under your circumstances. If you're a condominium, insurance is very high, so you can do this stacking concept. You can actually do this in businesses and individual too, where you can buy a lesser insurance policy for a higher amount that has a higher deductible and it's much more inexpensive, much cheaper. And then you can get an umbrella, a higher policy that covers only over that amount, so that you really aren't spending as much money on insurance and you think you should. You can do this in any scenario. So it's just there are lots of creative ways to do that.
Tris, you're up with Scott Major from Major Parúas. Hi, Tris.
Hi, how are you?
We're super.
We're having a little bit of a different issue. I signed with a public adjuster like 2 weeks after the hurricane, and it's too long to go into all of the things, but we had a lot of issues back and forth. And in March, we came to a point where they offered a release, and instead of a general release, they wanted us to sign a release that it essentially was a large gag order, and it had a lot of consequences if they even felt in any way that we implied anything negative. Like, not even just said anything, but if someone could infer that we, were less than happy with them. So I was a little worried about signing that, so we refused. And they wouldn't let us take it out of their office to have anybody review it, and we had to do it in 30 minutes. So I didn't feel comfortable with that. And so then they offered that we stay with them for $1 instead of the 10%. And they had already gotten like maybe $14,000 from our first check. So we did agree I needed to think about it over the weekend, but we did agree to change the 10% to $1. And they said that they hoped that maybe by the end of it all, we would just feel better about them and, have a more positive outcome for the community. And so the next check that came, when I went, they texted me to come get it. And when I did, they said, here's your check, but we want you to for us to endorse this check for you, you have to go back and sign that gag order. And at the time, I was part of a group on Facebook, and they said I had to get off that group to get the check. And I had recommended some attorney that had said something online to someone, and they said the third condition was I had to never recommend that attorney again because they felt like she was against them and taking on their clients. So I just was I was worried about the gag order, and then I was, the other conditions. So I said no, and so then they wouldn't endorse the check. So we've had this check for actually a couple $100,000 that we're just sitting 2 campers in our driveway, and we have this check we can't cash, and now they're threatening to sue us. And so
what in the world?
I highly recommend you do a couple things. Number one, you definitely should call the 844-800-LAWS when you get offline. Should never sign any document that you haven't had a lawyer review. Anybody who suggests you shouldn't sign the document, that should be red flags to you that it's a problem. If you've received money and somebody's refusing to endorse it, you have legal rights. If they're committing fraud or engaging in extortion, you can take action against them. But the bottom line is that I highly recommend you get a lawyer involved to help you to unravel this so you can get your money immediately. You can make the appropriate demands on whoever's, nonsensically harassing you in this way, and allow yourself to have the peace of mind to enjoy the money that you deserve. We'll get that money for you, or we can recommend other lawyers for you, but highly recommend you get the right people involved to step in and end this nonsense. And it is nonsense.
I cannot even believe what I just heard. That is one of the most whacked out things I've ever heard of an insurance company doing.
Well, no, it's the public adjuster.
It's the public adjuster.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, and I went on one of the forums and I asked for recommendations for other public adjusters, not to hire anyone, just to see what the procedure was if someone was refusing to cash a check. And I didn't even say their name in the top of the post. And when they saw that, they went on that forum. It has like 16,000 members for hurricane support. And then they released all of, like, by name. They called me by name and put all of our financial information out there, the amount of the checks. And then they said, I'm sorry, I'm getting upset because it's 7 months and I have kids and special needs son and we're in these campers. But then the public adjuster, like, said on this forum that that it's so sad that we're living in campers and that when he was here that the utility company came out to shut off the electric, and he put all of this out on Facebook on the forum to try to shame us and gave all of our financial information, all the details of the claim. And I mean, he's just been repeatedly posting. And I have not even seen him directly on those posts.
In that group.
I can't believe what I'm hearing.
And I screenshotted everything.
It's a police matter as well as a lawyer matter. Highly recommend. You may have to go to the police department to report these people. It's, you know, there's a lot of civil and criminal stuff going on here. Highly recommend you call us offline.
Hey, you know,
if you don't hire us, give you a good experience.
Tris, promise me that you.
I will.
Promise me you'll call him. The number.
I will.
Scott Major, and the number's 844-800-LAWS. Do that in the next 15 minutes, please.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
I don't even. I'm speechless. I'm friggin' speechless. We got to take a break. More just insanity.
Right.
More coming. Stand by. Unreal.
More Kramer coming up. Oh, and if you're thinking of making a complaint call to management right now, don't bother. His dad owns the station. NewsTalk at 101.
It's the Kramer Show. It's NewsTalk at 101. Scott Major's with us. Scott, we literally have probably about a minute and a half, 2 minutes left. I want to give Scott's phone number again, 844-800-LAWS. Some of the stories that you hear during this time are so egregious that it really, you start losing your faith in humanity. I mean, my heart just bleeds for the past story of Tris.
It's awful. I mean, it's just awful. And these are just some of the many stories that have occurred through the wrongdoing of others, not always even the insurance company. And I can just encourage everyone that if your claim has not been paid, again, if your claim has not been paid, please seek a professional that you trust. Look the professional up. Make sure they've handled 500 or more of these claims. Make sure they have education. So when you are going to undertake placing your trust in someone else, you have a higher probability of success. You have a higher probability of getting a good result. And as we've talked about over and over again, you don't have to hire us. You can call up and ask us advice about other lawyers, other public adjusters, the status of your case. Whatever it is, we're here to help. We're trying to make a difference in this community. And it's unfortunate that there are people that are less than scrupulous that enter into this market and seize upon these people and take advantage of you because you don't know any better or you're desperate. But we're here to help. The radio station's here to help. Kramer, you've done an unbelievable job of really helping, and it's magical what you've done through the radio station in helping to educate people and arm them in a way they would have never been armed had we not done this show.
Well, that's very sweet of you to say, and I got to tell you, people, they listen when you're on, so right back at you for the things that you do within your hour on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I'm going to give that number out once more. Scott Major, 844-800-LAWS. Scott, we're up on time. Thank you very much, kind sir. I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks for all you do for the community. Really appreciate it.
Radio. This is Kramer.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.